we saw of classification, we saw examples of regression. And those were simple examples because we wanted to help you understand the difference between the two. But now we want to take some time to discuss some actual projects. So that will be the main goal of today's lecture. And before that, we will display our AI platform which we have made, using which you can actually go through these projects in a very simple and interactive manner. So we'll just get started in 2 minutes. Okay, so maybe we can get started. I think other teachers will join as we go along.
Yeah.
So good morning, everyone, and let us start today's lecture. So, firstly, I just wanted to give a brief recap of what all we have covered so far, and then we can get started with today's lecture. So, initially, with this teacher training program, we started with some of the AI tools. We covered ChatGPT initially, then we covered GPT-4. I remember the last time when we met, we had a discussion where you asked Sir that whether you'll be able to get access to GPT-4 version. So do let us know if you have got the access. GPT-4 is improving day by day, and its accuracy is also pretty good. So it can be used for a wide range of things, and it can be like a single platform which you can use for all your applications. For example, image generation. Playground is very good, but if you have GPT-4, then you can generate image uh, using the GPT-4 application itself. Then we discussed some other applications for video creation. For example, Moon Valley AI is a wonderful example using which we can create some short snippets of video. Still, we can't create full length animations. Then we looked at some examples where you can create 3D models or 3D assets using AI. So these are some of the examples which can help you in your teaching methodology directly. And I remember having a discussion at the school that whether these applications can be directly used on the smart board. So if you have GPT-4, then it makes sense to directly log in and keep yourself logged in on the platform, so that if you are teaching some concept and you want to take help from GPT-4, you can do it right away. You can open a tab separately. You can log in using your Google account and start using GPT-4. So initially we started by discussing all of these applications, and later we moved on to looking at artificial intelligence models themselves. So for example, we looked at teachable machine. Teachable machine mainly has three classes. It has examples for image classification, then voice classification, and pose classification. All of these are examples of classification problems, and you can really create some wonderful projects based on this teachable machine platform itself. So I just wanted to share one project with everyone actually, which was displayed on the teachable machine website. So it's called as Project Euphonia. So let me just share my screen. So just to give a background of how this project works is uh, there are there are people uh, who are deaf in this world. They have not heard people speak. They are not mute, but when they try to speak, the words come out in a very different language, and people are not able to understand what they are trying to speak. So, if these people, when they try using Google Translate on the phone or on the laptop, Google doesn't pick up what they are saying because their tone is very different. So this particular person started to use teachable machine to actually understand what he was saying and to develop his own translator. So let me just share my screen and show you what I mean by this. I hope the sound can be shared. Let's see. Okay, so this is that example.
Google has
Can you
very
hear
good
this?
general speech recognition, but if you do
Yeah,
not
yeah, we
sound
can hear.
as most of people, it will not understand you.
No one's ever collected large data sets of people whose speech is hard for others to understand.
People who have multiple sclerosis, for GF, who had stroke, who stutter.
They're not used in training the speech recognition models. The game is to record things.
What's the temperature today?
And then have it recognize things that you say that aren't in the training set. Dimitri recorded 15,000 phrases. It wasn't obvious that this was going to work. He just sat there and he kept recording.
We need to make all voice interactive devices be able to understand any person who speaks to them.
I hope all of you can understand what he has done here. All this person has done is that go to teachable machine, clicked on the audio classifier button, and then he has created 15,000 classes. For example, the first class can be what is the weather today, and then he speaks in his own tone. Then the second class can be I am okay, my name. Then if you ask a question, what is your name, etc. So he recorded 15,000 audio clips like these, trained the model, clicked on train your model, and then the model was able to predict some other phrases which were not even there in the training data. So using this teachable machine, you can really create wonderful applications without even the need to go into the details of coding. So we covered that specific platform with the same intention. Then we started to look at regression. So regression is something which is not necessarily covered in teachable machine examples. There, most of the examples we looked at was classification. Regression is where you are trying to predict something into the future from the current data. For example, the COVID-19 cases. If I have the data for the last 3 months, and if someone asks me how the cases are going to rise in the next month, that is the perfect example of regression, where you're trying to fit an AI model and predict into the future. We also looked at the difference of what is the difference between training data and AI model itself. For example, if you have dots and you connect a line which passes through the dots, then the line is the example of a model and the dots are the examples of training data. So you can understand that throughout this teacher training journey, we started with the broad knowledge of the AI, basics of AI, and then we are driving a bit deeper into constructing our own AI models. Today, we actually want to show you how these complex AI models work in some real life applications, which we have not seen so far. And before going into that, I just want to demonstrate our AI platform that we have designed at Visuara, and how we have constructed it, and how you can start using it at the school once we collaborate with the school. So the reason of building this platform in the first place was to help the teachers to teach these complicated concepts in a very simple and interactive manner. So let me just start to share my screen. If you have some laptops or a phone with you, you can even go along and you can type the website right now. So for example, now let's see. Okay, so just go to Google and type in visuara.in, this website, www.visuara.in. So you will see this page. This is the website of our AI labs. Within this, click on this section which says for schools. Once you click on it, you will go into this pedagogy section, then go on to this section which says hands-on projects. So this is where we have actually uploaded all of our projects. And these projects are very interesting. And now with the training that you have got, we believe that all of you can actually understand several aspects of these notebooks. So in today's lecture, we are going to specifically cover this notebook, which is Titanic Survivor Prediction. Uh, Before going there, I just want to show you this platform, and you can, of course, after this lecture, you can go ahead and interact with it and also give us feedback on how you like this interaction. But I just want to show some examples. So we looked at examples of classification and regression. So there is this other example of gesture recognition where you can actually move the cursor using your gesture itself. Okay, so this is the page. So basically what we are trying to do here is that the process remains very much the same that we saw with teachable machine. Uh, we will be trying to move the cursor. So for example, you can see, all of you can see a black cursor on the screen right now on which I'm sharing. So this cursor I am moving with the help of the keypad. So now what we want to do is that without even touching the keypad, we want to move this cursor around the screen. So if you click on next, you will see that this interface pops up, which is very similar to the interface that we saw with teachable machine. Again, the steps are to upload your training data. So let me just see if I can show you how this works. So okay, so hand gesture to move the cursor left, then hand gesture to move the cursor right, hand gesture to move the cursor up, then hand gesture to move the cursor down. Then let's say I want to play or pause, and hand gesture to rest. So I hope all of you can understand what I have done right now. I have simply uploaded the training data to help the model understand the different classes. So for example, if I take my hand up, I want the cursor to move left. If I take my hand to the right, I want the cursor to move right. So depending on the way my hand is positioned, the cursor is going to move. So let's see how this works. So if I go to next, I click on train model. The model gets trained. Then I again go to the next step. Now here, I want you to focus on two things mainly. One thing is the screen on the right, which has my face in it. Currently, it says rest, which is correct. The second thing I want you to focus on is this red cursor. Now, I'm not touching my keypad and I want to move this cursor using my hand. So let's see. So if I do this, the cursor moves right. And on the screen, you can see it says right and left. So without even touching the keypad, I'm moving the cursor. Now if I do down, the cursor moves down. If I move up, the cursor moves up. So the rotation is completely controlled with my hand. If I do this, the video will play. So these projects are extremely interesting, and for students, they immediately get introduced to the concept of gesture recognition through this very interesting example. Now, there are some brilliant practical applications of this. So, for example, Apple came up with this device called Vision Pro, and it has not yet released, but uh, there are several features in this gadget where the same concept is being used. So, for example, in the Vision Pro, you can move the cursor using your eyes instead of using your hand. So the camera actually tracks where your eye movement is going, and depending on the eye movement, the cursor also moves around on the screen, whether it moves left, right, up, and down. It totally depends on the movement of your eye. So we'll also share this link in the chat so that you can go through it.
Can you try connecting to my Wi-Fi, Rajat, if it is showing?
Yes, I think now it's much better.
Yeah.
So this particular link, which is the Apple Vision Pro, so it's a very beautiful video actually, where you can. I think my screen is still loading. Can you see my screen?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'll just type this link in the chat. Yeah, so this is what I was trying to focus on. You can navigate simply by using your eyes, your hands, and your voice. So there is really no need of a mouse even. So you can see in the image, they are trying to control the movement using either their eyes or using their hands. So through this project, the students can actually learn what is the technology behind these interesting applications. So you can actually visit this website and you can interact with several of these projects. Okay, so let us get started with the key project. Before we move ahead, are there any questions or any doubts from anyone? I hope you are able to follow the lecture. You can type in the chat also if you have any questions. We'll be happy to answer them. Okay, so as I was mentioning, in the next, Rana sir, did you have any question?
No, no.
Uh, so as I was mentioning, in the remainder of today's lecture, we'll be covering a very practical example, which is related to the Titanic survivor prediction. So I hope all of you are aware of the Titanic incident, which happened on April 15th, 1912. So let me just play a video for you to understand. So this was the Titanic incident. I have stopped sharing my screen for a moment. I just want to introduce the problem with all of you. An iceberg. In this project, what we are trying to understand is that uh, from the data of the Titanic, can we actually predict uh, which people survived the Titanic incident
Sir,
and which
you
people
are
did not
not.
survive the.
So there is a lagging. Your video is lagging.
Yes. So, do you have any predictions have survived the incident and which people might have not? Are you able to hear me now?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yeah,
okay.
yeah.
Okay, fine. Okay, so I was just trying to explain the problem that we are trying to solve initially. So in the Titanic incident, more than three-fourth of the people they did not survive. So we are going to use artificial intelligence to understand whether we can predict that were there any specific passengers who survived and were there any specific passengers who died. And from the data, can we make any predictions? After that, we are going to build an AI models to understand if a specific person of a specific gender, age, specific family history, how likely were they to survive the Titanic incident? So we will take our own examples at the end. We will try to predict for all the teachers and for us also, if we were on board the Titanic incident, would we have survived the Titanic incident or not? And therein where the power of artificial intelligence lies, you can use it to predict, to make these sort of predictions. Before we go ahead, does anyone have any intuition from what you can think, which people might have been given the preference in the Titanic incident, or which people were more likely to survive?
VVIP.
Yes, yes, correct. So Rana sir is saying we VIP person, so people who basically had paid higher price and they were sitting in platforms which were the first class platforms. Any other predictions?
The the people who were driving the small boats.
Okay, okay, okay. Okay, so I see Purushottam sir has also joined the call. So we just started introducing the problem. We are looking at the Titanic disaster, which happened in 1912, and we are trying to use artificial intelligence modeling to predict which people would have the highest chance of surviving the incident and which people did not. So Rana sir is just guessing that the persons who are the VIP persons who are very important, they would probably have survived the incident. Are there any other guesses from any other teachers?
So those who have the willpower and the skill, swimming skill,
Okay,
strong mental status.
okay, okay. So that is an interesting answer. Let us see. Actually, we will try to see and compare all these predictions with what has actually happened. So let us move to our notebook. So Shridat has just shared a poll. I think please answer it, everyone. Or in the chat, there is a question. Please answer it on the chat. So this is the notebook that we will be analyzing. Now, before we move ahead into analyzing, on the right, if you look at it, we have divided this notebook into 5 sections, which are problem scoping, data acquisition, data visualization, modeling, and evaluation. So this has been aligned with the CBSE curriculum actually. CBSE recommends us to analyze all AI related problems in these 5 categories. And we'll be explaining what is the meaning of these individual categories through this very interesting example. Okay, so problem scoping is where we just try to understand what is the kind of problem we are looking at. So we are looking at a very specific problem and we are trying to understand what would increase the odds of survival of a particular person. And then we'll try to predict for all of us what would our chances of survival be if we onboard the Titanic ship. So let's go to the next page now, which is the data acquisition. Data acquisition is actually one of the most important steps when you are building any sort of artificial intelligence model. It is based on the data that you will be building models and you will be making predictions. So this data has to be accurate. There should not be any mistakes in the data, and it has to be very comprehensive also. So first step is always to analyze in detail what is the type of data that we are looking at. So I'll click on continue. So we have taken this data from this Kaggle dataset. So when I click on Kaggle dataset, you can see that I'm open to a new tab where the dataset will be opened. I will show it to you eventually. First, let us look at the data that we are looking at. So this is the kind of data set that we are looking at. Whenever you see a data set, always look for the columns first. So for example, here there are up to 10 columns. We have passenger ID, survived, P class, name, gender, age, SIB SP, parch, ticket, and fare. All of you might be wondering what is the meaning of these attributes. We'll be slowly coming to that. So here, let's have a look at all of them in detail. Survival. Survival has two options, either 0 or 1. It shows if the passenger has survived or not. 1 stands for survived and 0 stands for net survived. For example, if you look at the first passenger, Mr. Owen Harris, the survival is 0 over here, which means that this passenger has not survived the incident. Let's move on to the next type, P class. P class is the ticket class for this particular passenger. 1 stands for first class ticket, 2 stands for second class, and 3 stands for third class ticket. Here you can see that this particular passenger had the third class ticket. You can correlate the class with the platform of the passenger. Most of the people with the third class were given some beds in the most bottom platform of the ship, where all of these people were actually crowded. So that is the second attribute. Third attribute is the gender. It is very self-explanatory. It is either male or female. Fourth attribute is the age, passenger's age. So it goes from 0.42 to 80. Why is it in decimal? It's because there might be some babies on board who might be some multiple months old. So we have all kinds of passengers. For example, you can see there is a wide age distribution over here. Then we have SIB SP. This is the number of siblings or spouses traveling with the passenger. If we have a big family, which people during those times had, you can see that there are numbers which go even up to 8 here, which you can see in the range. So for example, Mr. Owen had a SIB SP of 1, so probably he was traveling with his wife. Then Parch. Parch is the number of parents or children traveling with each passenger. So here you can see Parch is 0 for almost all of these 5 entries. But the data set is actually quite big. So we have around, I think, more than 1,000 or 2,000 odd data points. Here for display, we have mentioned only 5. So here it ranges from 0 to 6. Then ticket number. Ticket number is just a string which says the number of the ticket. You can see it's a pretty random number which has any value. Then fare is the how much money the passenger has paid. One quick observation you can make from all of this is that passengers in the third class have paid less money compared to passengers in the first class, which have paid almost up to 10 times of the money which the passengers in the third class have paid, which makes a lot of sense. Then cabin number of the passenger. This is also just a string value. The cabin where the passenger is currently staying. Embarked is port from where the passenger has embarked. So I assume that the Titanic had collected the passengers from 3 different stops: Cherbourg, Queenstown, and Southampton. All of these stops are in England. So many of you might have heard of Queenstown or Southampton. So there are 3 ports from which the passengers had embarked on this ship. So this is what we do in this second step of data acquisition. We try to analyze the data in detail. We look at all the attributes and we understand what is the kind of problem that we are dealing with. Here you can see we have divided the type into categorical and non-categorical data. Basically, you can think of categorical as a discrete data or discrete labels. It's not a continuous value. For example, gender, it's either male or female. Then P class, it's either 1, 2, or 3. Whereas non-categorical data, it is something which can take any real value. within a certain age. For example, height or weight of a person, that's a non-categorical value. So here most of the parameters or the attributes that we have that we are looking at are examples of categorical data. Okay, so I hope all of you are extremely clear with the kind of data that we are looking at. There should be no doubt at this point. We are looking at a data which has around 10 different data attributes. Now we'll go to the next step, which is data visualization. So I go to the next step. It says your whiz tree continues to grow. So why it says whiz tree? It's because we consider our notebooks to be made up of individual branches of a tree. So if you connect all these branches together, then only the entire tree will be formed. Otherwise, your knowledge will be incomplete. So eventually, we plan to connect all these different branches together so that we understand the whole concept. Then we click on continue and go to the next step, which is the data visualization. As the name suggests, we'll be trying to visualize some sort of a thing here. So I click on continue. Let's see. So here we'll be studying different plots. The first plot is gender versus survival. So can all of you answer this question based on this plot? What is your conclusion or prediction based on this plot? You can type in the chat. What do you think is happening in this plot and what can we infer from this particular plot? On the x-axis, we have gender, and on the y-axis, we have survival percentage.
There are more chances of female to survive.
Yes, correct. So that is exactly correct. Females have a 74% chance of survival as compared to males, which have only 18% chance of survival. So this is something which so females were given a lot of preference in the Titanic disaster incident. Let's look at the next class or the next plot. It is P class versus survival. So this plot is different from the first plot because here there are three different labels on the x-axis. There is class 1, there is class 2, and there is class 3. On the y-axis, we again have a survival percentage. So what can you see from this graph? Can anyone tell me? We know Rana sir is listening attentively because he's answering, but other people, if they can answer, it will be very good.
Number of chances of surviving +1 or more.
Correct. Yes, sir. That is completely correct. People who paid higher price and they were sitting in class 1, they had around 63% chances of survival as compared to people sitting in class 3 who had only 25% chances of survival, which means that people who are rich, they were given more preference, which is what actually Rana sir had predicted initially, that the VIP people were given more preference in this. So here there are some questions also which you can answer. So for example, higher class passengers have a higher survival chance, which is true. Now let's go to the next page. I hope all of you have understood this stage of data visualization. This is very important. There are actually several different plots here. So let's have a look at another plot before we move ahead, which is SIB SP versus survival. So this is actually pretty interesting plot. If anyone can give me an answer, what is happening here? Can you try to see what is happening in this particular plot? Try to analyze this second one, the survived. You ignore this first half. Try to analyze this second, which
I
is
think
survived at the bottom.
we can just once clarify what is SIB-SP. SIB-SP is the
Yes.
number of siblings or spouses who are traveling with you in the Titanic.
Those who are couples have been survived the maximum. Couples or
Actually,
one sibling.
right. So people who have either one or two SIB SP, they have maximum chance of survival. And bigger families, so some of the teachers had previously guessed in our previous batches that if you have big families up to 8 or 10, maybe you'd get a preference, but it's not the case. Only people who have one or two as the CBSP, they have the maximum survival rate, which means that if you are a couple, or you are a couple and you have a child, okay, this is CBSP. So mainly we are looking at couples. So people who have just one person along with them, which can be either a wife or a sister or a brother, they are given the maximum preference. And even large families, they are not given a preference. Their survival rate is very low here, which you can see in the purple line. The purple line has a survival rate of less than 20%. And the pink one is so small that it is not even visible. So people who have 8 as the CBSP, they are most likely to not survive the Titanic. Similarly, we have other very interesting plots: age versus survival. So this is a plot which is a bit complicated to explain. So I will not be going into this plot in detail right now. But from this data visualization, I just wanted you to understand that this is a stage where we try to understand what is the relation between every single data attribute to the survival chances. So from this, we have seen that gender has a very good relation. Then even P class and CBSP also has some kind of a relation. So we analyze the data by looking at these data visualization graphs. So this is an example of a bar chart where the data is visualized in the form of these vertical bars. That's why it's called as a bar chart. Let's go to the next page now, where we are actually focusing on building an artificial intelligence model.
Sir,
So,
just 1 minute of the previous data, so the graph. Just
yes,
one
yes, yes, sir.
second.
Which one? Previous one?
Yes, that 63% was surviving class 1.
Okay, P class. Yes, this one.
Yes, sir. In class 3, it is 75.8% surviving percentage of female. Then what is this one? This class 3rd?
Uh, Sir, actually, this is the orange one is the people who have not survived. So you
Acha,
can see
acha.
that they always add up to 100, these two.
Yes, yes.
So this
Yes.
is, yeah. So green is the
Green
probability
is
or
surviving
percentage.
and not surviving.
Yeah, orange is not surviving.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Right. So let us move on to the next step, which is the modeling. This is one of the most important steps whenever you are trying to build any AI model. Now we have looked at all these data attributes. On the x-axis, you can see we have P class, we have gender, age, CBSP, P-arch, fair, embarked, and on the y-axis we have something which is called as correlation with survived. So what does this mean? Correlation with survived means that whichever attribute has maximum correlation with survival will have the maximum value here. For example, you can see here that P arch has a very low value, which means that uh, P arch was, I think, the number of parents or children that were traveling with the passenger. So this is a particular parameter which is not related to the survival rate at all. On the other hand, gender has a maximum correlation which is more than 0.5, and P class has the second maximum correlation which is around 0.35. For now, you can assume that 0 means absolutely zero correlation, 1 means the best correlation. So you can, if you had a parameter called survived on the x-axis, it would have a correlation of 1. So it is always going to lie between 0 and 1. And anything which has this 0.3, 0.5 values, which means it's a good correlation. So from this, we can see that gender has a correlation value of around 0.5 plus. P class has a correlation value of around 0.32 or 0.33, which means that both of these data attributes are maximally correlated with the survival rate of a passenger. So if you want to understand correlation in very simple terms, let us take example of intelligence. So if someone tells you what is the correlation between height and intelligence, So I would probably say it is very close to 0. Then if someone asks you what is the correlation between hard work and intelligence, then that is definitely not 0. It is somewhere between 0 and 1, maybe 0.5, 0.6. Then let's say, what is the correlation between age and intelligence? So there is a slight correlation, but not much. Intelligence peaks somewhere in the middle years, and then it again tapers down. Then what is the correlation between weight and intelligence? There is absolutely no correlation. So correlation gives us a sense of which data attributes are important, which are not important. And these attributes which are important, which have the maximum correlation, these will be the features of our model. So just remember these terminologies. Okay, so let us continue now, and we are going to construct our model. To understand how this works, let us look at some features. Now let us take some example of something which is absolutely not linked with survival to see what happens. So let us say we take a ticket number as the input feature. Okay, we have selected the ticket number here as the input feature, and I'll explain this parameter. Let me click on run model for now. You can see the accuracy is 0.47, which means 47%. So the meaning of this 47% is that out of 100 times, 47 times the model is giving correct answers, and 53 times the model is giving wrong answers. So this is a very bad accuracy. Okay, let us see if we can do better. Let us remove ticket. What if we consider age as the input feature and name? And then let us run our model. Let's see. Here we get improved accuracy around 0.57, but still this is not good. So can anyone suggest what is the right input features to be selected in this case, which will give the maximum accuracy?
Gender.
Okay, gender. Anyone else? Any other feature?
P class.
P class, right. Any other feature we should consider? Yes, Kuldeep sir is also
Age.
saying gender. Which one?
Age.
Okay. So let's select these three: P class, gender, and age, and let's run the model. Let's see. Okay, we get a very good accuracy. We get an accuracy of 0.78%. Okay, so let me ask you a trick question right now. What if we select survived as the input feature? What would be the accuracy?
100%.
Let's check. Yes, the accuracy is 100%, which is good. Okay, so I can see that Rana sir has understood the concepts. I hope other people please be more proactive. Okay, so now we are going to select the best features, which are the gender and the P class. And then we are going to, and we'll select age also. Age is, okay, let's see if we just select these two. We run the model. Yes, we get a better accuracy. So because we included age, our accuracy was dropping a little bit. Now we have got an accuracy of 80%. Now, what exactly is this training and testing data sets and splitting the data into these two? So let me explain this using some different example. So whenever we have a training data, so now we looked at the entire data set. We had around 1,000 data points. We always split the data into training and testing. The reason is that if you include everything in the training, then of course the model is going to perform well. The accuracy is it makes sense to test your model on the testing data, which is not included in the training data. So imagine this from the point of view of a student writing an exam. You are training the student on some practice data sets. If you are a maths teacher, you give some practice maths problems. But in the examination, will your problems be same as the training problems? No, right? It will be very different because you want to test the student whether the student is able to perform well in questions which are not seen by him or her in the practice test. That is the difference between training and test data set. Now, if you were to ask that what should be the ratio between the test to training, which one should be higher? Should test be higher or train be higher? What would you say? Let's say the training is very low. Let's say only 10% is training and 90% is testing. So let's select a very high ratio here. Let's see, let's select a ratio which focuses on testing, and I run the model. You can see that the accuracy drops a little bit. But if I select 0.1, the accuracy increases. Why this happens is very straightforward. The model which has more focus on training will obviously perform better because it has seen more data, and it has learned uh, from more data points, which is very similar to the example of a student which I had mentioned. If a student is practicing more problems, then they are more likely to score better in an examination where there is a new problem. If they are practicing on less problems, then the performance will not be good. So this is exactly what we do when we try to build an artificial intelligence model. First, we look at features which have maximum correlation. Then we select the right features and then we run the model. Now let's go to the next page, which is the final stage, which is the evaluation of the model. Now our model is built. We'll be using this model to see how good the model works and whether the predictions and what is the model saying to us. Okay, so let me first take my example. If I was a person on board the Titanic, would I have survived or not? So let's say I click on mail. Let's say I click on second class. I embark from a Queenstown. I enter my name, and let's say the three of us are traveling, me, Raj, and Sridhar. So how many people are joining in this Titanic ship? Two more people are joining in this Titanic ship, and then I enter my age also. Then I click on submit. So I would not have survived the Titanic. So you can see what is happening here. The model is predicting something which is not there in the data. Now let's take the example of some of the teachers here. Let's say we have majority, we have some female teacher. I think we have an equal division or more males, but let's see. Let's see there is a female teacher, and let's take an example of. Let me enter the name as teacher. How many people? Let's say all the female teachers in this. So Supriya ma'am and Prachi ma'am. I think we have only two. So two people, and let me write some age and then click on submit. So then the teachers in this call would have survived. But if I would have switched this to male and clicked on survived, again we get not survived. So you can see that there is a heavy focus on the gender, and you can use this model to predict whether any person they would have survived or not if they were on board the Titanic. So if someone would have asked you the question before you build this AI model, you would have guessed that okay, maybe you would have survived. But using this now, 80% of the times you would be correct because the accuracy is 80%. There will still be some errors 20% of the times, which is fine. Most of the AI models are not exactly accurate, but that is still a very good accuracy, right? Out of 10 times people are asking you this question, 8 times you are giving them the correct answer. And then when you click on submit, you can finish and then you can complete this notebook. So just to summarize, the entire notebook had 5 categories. We had problem scoping, we had data acquisition, we had data visualization, we had modeling and evaluation. All of these categories constitute something which is called as AI project cycle. If you look at the CBSE curriculum for class 9th and class 10th, they have mentioned AI project cycle. They have not mentioned any projects, but they have just mentioned this thing called AI project cycle. So this is how each individual things can be explained.
Sir,
Yes.
from which website did the child like to practice here? If I have to make the
Yes,
child
yes. So,
practice.
yes. So we had covered this initially a little bit. So this is our website. You just type visuara.in. If you type visuara.in and go to AI labs,
AI lab.
there is this section on AI hands-on projects in which some of the projects we have opened currently for people, but then schools which we are partnering with, we are giving them a lot of projects which are more than around 25 to 50 in number, in which cover every single concept in the curriculum. But
Now, sir,
the thing,
whatever you are displaying, demonstrating, we can do here also.
yes, yes, yes. So yes, so these are, so we have currently opened how many projects here? 5 projects have been opened. here you can see this Titanic survivor prediction.
Yes.
This is there in our website itself. So all you have to do, sir, is that you have to click on open the project and you can access the notebook by yourself. So you can practice on this notebook on our website itself. You can give us feedback.
Yes.
Yes, Raj has posted a link, a YouTube link, which I'll be sharing. So this is the link to our YouTube channel where you can actually see an explanation of this.
Sir, just in the beginning, I missed out what data acquisition. So, at a glance, if you could revise in 1 2 minutes, sir.
Sure, sure. So, okay, so let the notebook load. It is taking some time because of internet connection. So data acquisition is from where we are getting this data. So that is the basic meaning of data acquisition. Uh, we need to understand what is the data. After we download the data, every data will have different attributes which will be mentioned in different columns. So for example, here we saw there were 10 different data attributes, and every single attributes has a very specific meaning. So before we go to the data visualization, data acquisition is a step where we download the data from a reliable source. So for example, for this Titanic data, we had downloaded this data from this kaggle.com website. So you can see here is the data. Now I hope you can see this entire file, but if you want to see the overall data, I think it is a pretty long data. You can download this entire data. It is open source. Let me see where, yeah. Probably there is some download option at the bottom over here. Download all. I think when you click this, the entire data will be downloaded. It will have a CSV file, which will have a training data set. So this is a website which has pretty good repository of some data. However,
Yes.
what to do after the data, they have not mentioned in this website.
How much separated value in Excel format it is?
It is in the CSV, so it can be downloaded and opened in Microsoft Excel notebooks.
Yes.
So this is just one example. There are many other platforms from which you can get very reliable data sources. And this is okay. These are cases which people have already solved. So we have the data available. What if you are doing something new? You are doing an experiment, for example. In such cases, then you have to collect your own data. So then the data acquisition step has to be performed by the person who is doing the experiment by themselves.
Rajat, can I just share one thing on the share
Yes.
screen?
Yes.
So this is that document, class 9, 10th AI syllabus.
Yes.
And here you can see that there is a very large section which they allocate to the AI project cycle. And the 5 sections which come within this are problem scoping, acquisition, exploration, modeling, and evaluation. But the problem is that the way they have mentioned things currently, it is very difficult to know which projects to work on for this part, especially which real life data to take. Then how exactly should we explain these 5 things to the students? So these activities such as identifying stakeholders, data visualization, this is all written in text here, but there is nothing given to explain which type of projects to actually explain, which are correlated with real life, which students will actually relate to. And so we were thinking that, okay, let's say this is the goal. What interesting projects we can take which are based on real life data, so that we can demonstrate these 5 parts of the AI project cycle. So Titanic is one example, then brain tumor classification is another, then movie recommendation engine is another example. There are the chatbot, there is a making your own chatbot example which we have on the website. So basically we have taken some the backbone of our platform which Rajat showed is based on the syllabus itself, but the way it is explained is very much aligned with what teachers will like, because teachers can then use the platform, and then once they go through the projects they will realize that it's following all of these things exactly. And then students will also be motivated. They will really start liking the subject because they will see that, okay, this is what actually data. So let's say data visualization you want to explain. And instead of just showing random plots, if it's shown with respect to the project, like in the Titanic project, you show the data exploration, how we did with the different plots, then they will never forget it. And these are even interesting for projects like the brain tumor. It's a very beautiful project where the data is now the MRI images. And then the question is how to visualize that data. How does the AI visualize that data? Then they themselves get interested about AI in healthcare, that they may choose as a career later. So this syllabus, although some of the sections in the syllabus are good, but the explanatory activities here are not very good from a student's perspective and also from a teacher's perspective. So that is the part which we really try to improve through these notebooks. Yeah, this part, I think this is class 9th. Class 10th also, I think AI project cycle is included. Yeah, in unit 2.
Yeah, so this was what we wanted to explain in today's lecture, mainly the AI project cycle and how our platform can be used to explain many of these projects which are covered in the curriculum. So before the lecture for the first half, we were just doing some recap based on what we have learned. We will share the video with you, Purushottam sir, as well, and we'll share all the videos on the chat. We are currently like we are collating all the videos, and we'll put a single drive link where all the videos will be put together. So then within that same folder, you will find all the different videos organized properly.
In the WhatsApp group, sir?
Yes, we'll be sharing that in the WhatsApp group itself. Yes. Okay, everyone. So we are almost at the end of our teacher training lectures. If anyone has any specific requirements that we should cover, please post in the WhatsApp group. In the
Small
next
request
lecture,
is next week and the week after, can we conduct the lecture on Saturday instead of Sunday? Anytime
yes.
convenient.
Saturday, then 3 to 4.
Yeah, timing,
Okay.
pretty much any timing is fine. We can.
Because office hour, Saturday also we have
Sure.
school
Okay.
till
Yeah.
2 o'clock, 2:30. So after 2:30 only it will be possible.
Okay. So maybe Saturday in the evening, we can conduct if all the teachers are okay with it.
Before 4 o'clock if possible, it would be finished.
So Kuldeep sir is saying maybe we can we can chat about this. What should be the exact timing? Maybe on Saturday. We can decide it on the group.
Yes. Kuldeep sir is talking about, yes. So robotics lab is actually something which is related to assembling of machines. AI is something which is very broad level, so it is applicable to even robotics. If the students learn to impart intelligence to machine, they can use those learnings to impart intelligence to the robots which are there in the labs as well. So we consider artificial intelligence to be a field which is very broad, and within that, once that broad level knowledge is given to the students, they can use it in multiple fields in which robotics is just a subpart of it. So yes, definitely it is applicable in the field of robotics as well. Okay, so let's decide. Let's say Saturday 5 p.m. If everyone is okay with it, we can conduct for next week.
So if the lecture is going to be conducted on Saturday, then please try to conclude before 4 o'clock or otherwise on Sunday, if possible, at the same time.
Okay. Uh, okay.
11
So
o'clock.
we will communicate on maybe 3 to 4 p.m. is a timing which works for us also.
Yeah.
So
If all the teachers, if it's fine, we can conduct at 3 p.m. itself on Saturday. The things Purushottam sir is this is like a married season, so most of our close friends are getting married this month, and all of
yeah.
those are
No,
falling on Sunday.
no, sir. Living in the boarding school. So boarding school situation is little different from
Yeah,
day
yeah.
school situation.
Okay.
Here we have 24/7, hardly finding the time for academic, for family,
So
for
3 p.m. is fine, sir,
and
for
we
you?
can.
Saturday?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, then let's fix it at 3 p.m. then.
Yes.
Okay, Prachi ma'am has also texted to me 3 to 4 is okay. So let's do it 3 to 4 then. Next 2 weeks.
Okay. Okay, everyone. Uh, uh, okay, teacher. Thanks a lot for attending the session, and we'll be discussing next week. In the
Thanks.
meantime, if anyone has any doubts, please ask on the WhatsApp group, and let's keep the group more active.
Thank you, everyone. Have a nice day.
You teachers,
Thank you.
have a nice day.
Have a
Thank you,
nice
sir.
day.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you so much,
Bye.
sir.